Ladies and gentlemen, a man who is really universal and versatile. Let's put our hands together once again for Justice Chitatosh Mukherjee, who has been awarded with SKOCH Lifetime Achievement Award. Ladies and gentlemen, we can make it little huge. Let's have once again a huge round of applause for sir. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you, sir, once again. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, may I now invite Mr. Sameer Kochar to join us on the stage once again. Ladies and gentlemen, here I announce the SKOCH Star of India Award. And this year's SKOCH Star of India Award is conferred on late L.M. Singhvi, eminent jurist, parliamentarian, scholar, writer, and diplomat. I request Mr. Sameer Kochar Sahab to kindly do the honor, and at the same time I request Shri Abhishek Manu Singhvi, eminent jurist, writer, and parliamentarian to kindly accept SKOCH Star of India Award presented to Padma Bhushan late L.M. Singhvi ji. Let's have a huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Late L.M. Singhvi's commitment to upholding integrity in governance led him to propose the creation of a robust vigilance body against corruption. His journey continued with impactful roles like High Commissioner to the UK and tenure in Rajya Sabha. Padma Bhushan Dr. Singhvi's multifaceted brilliance spanning law, politics, diplomacy, and literature cements his legacy as an exceptional scholar and leader whose influence extends far beyond his lifetime. Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a huge round of applause once again and celebrate this moment.
Former Chief Justice Lalit, Justice Banerjee, distinguished members of the legal fraternity, distinguished members of the non-legal fraternity, ladies and gentlemen, this is not intended to be a speech. Let me start by congratulating Sameer and his son and the entire team for making the SKOCH events, especially its legal forum, an intoxicating cocktail, true to the name SKOCH, of diverse things, including a very diverse and interesting panel of topics through the day. I was particularly intrigued because I happen to be an integral part of most of the themes he just mentioned, starting from same-sex marriage to some of the other themes which are active in court. I'm reminded by seeing this short documentary of my very, very young years in my profession and a well-known reported case of Renu Sagar versus GEC, which traveled to the Supreme Court 3 times. The middle round traveled from single judge Pense to division bench of Chitatosh Mukherjee and Sujata Manohar, and then on to the Supreme Court. And I had the privilege as a young lawyer to appear, led by my father, and in the initial period, Palkiwala opposed us. And then it went on up to the Supreme Court. The names which we have and are going to see Justice Venkatachalaya soon are all, I think, they exemplify, if you were to force somebody to say one word, they exemplify grace, an old world charm. Sadly, if not already gone, fast disappearing. No rancor, no jealousies, no pettiness. Unfortunately, things which have increasingly become to characterize our contemporary ambience. Sameer has asked me to speak about my father. It's always difficult and little unfair for a son to speak about his father. But he also belonged to that world. For example, a Renaissance definition used to be that a person could be good at many things. Not that he needs to be only a specialist in one. These narrow walls of specialization were antithetical to Renaissance persons. And I think that characteristic exemplifies several people, including my late father, Justice Venkatachalaya, Justice Chitatosh Mukherjee. Since I'm not supposed to speak long, let me give you 3 or 4 quick examples of how these are people or men of ideas. I remember, again, a very strange quirk of fate, that more than a decade ago, when I was chairing the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Law, I happened to preside over a 31-member parliamentarian committee, a mini parliament, which gave the report on Lokpal. And the first page of that recounted how in 62, as a young parliamentarian of 30 years old, my father had visited Sweden and had got besotted with the ombudsman concept. And when he came back as a young Harvard-trained lawyer and a young parliamentarian, he spoke ceaselessly inside and outside Parliament about a parliamentary commissioner and ombudsman. And this story is recounted in the first page of our report, that Nehru, the then Prime Minister, told him, he said, "Young man, you constantly speak about ombudsman, you must indigenize this concept." And he therefore coined the words Lokpal and Lokayukt, which of course have gone into the lexicon, Indian lexicon. It is ironical that almost 8 attempts, 4 during his term, to create a Lokpal failed. And the report which recommended finally and was accepted largely was chaired by his son almost 40 years later. The second thing I remember is how, in my presence, more than 35 years ago, he said, "Why don't we ever celebrate the day our Constitution framing was completed?" 26th January is when we became a republic. But at that time, nobody celebrated the completion of the rigors and the vigors of the Constituent Assembly, which finished its work officially on 26th of November 1949. And he therefore, on the spot, drafted by hand the Law Day Charter, which has now become an established part of the legal world, celebrated every year by the Supreme Court Bar Association and by the diverse high courts. And a few years ago, the Honorable Prime Minister declared it to be the Constitution Day. A third example was when he explained the concept of Setu Bandhanam to Mr. Vajpayee. Vajpayee and he shared a very strange chemistry of poetry and Hindi literature. And he immediately got interested in the idea, which led to the entire diaspora report. The entire NRI movement, diaspora, owes itself to that conversation. He said, to appoint you the chairman of a high-powered committee to make the diaspora report, and that came about, and you have the entire diaspora movement now. There are many more such examples, but I think we all need to hearken back to that era, which was an era of ideas, of less of pettiness and much more of camaraderie and spirit. Thank you very much for the award, which I accept humbly. And congratulations again for all these diverse functions which the SKOCH Foundation does. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your kind words. Moving towards another prestigious category, that is SKOCH Challenger Award. And this year, with much honor and pride, we present this award to